like, or putting these guys in jail.
What does 10 days do?
Yeah,
it's not like 6 months. It's 10 days. What are we doing?
No, I do agree with you on that point. It's just kind of it's like you said. I'm sure, like, it's just to show, like, well, here's 10 days in jail just because I got to show everyone that I did something.
Matt, do you, as an defense attorney, do you consider fishing to be a right or a privilege?
Man, that's a tough question. It's a privilege. It's not a right.
Hello and welcome to episode 20 of the NJ Multi-Species Podcast. I'm Joe Santiago and, of course, my partner, Chris Pereira.
What's going on?
We are both very, I don't know about him, but I am exhausted. Mike K has inspired me to get my golf clubs out and go back to the golf course because I just don't want to fish for a little while. But, holy shit, what an intense weekend. I really am still dying. I hope this is over fast. Chris was missing a lot, so we don't know exactly where he was.
Look, I pretty much blew my load within the first, in the first 20 hours, and my entire plan just fell to pieces, and I fished for, I fished Friday night with you, pretty much straight through the night. I switched over. We fished Round Valley. I switched over to Spruce Run. I didn't sleep. I switched over right to Spruce Run, and I fished till my batteries died, and I just didn't feel like going in it. Nothing worked.
I got beat up. I got beat up on Spruce Run. We did have guys that came out and fished really hard. Michael Rivera, he threw a fish up on the board for Mayhem real fast. It got knocked off, but it was on there real quick. Kevin Glenn, unbelievable job he did. I mean, he fished straight through the whole thing. I was on a walkie-talkie with Kevin. He was switching from land to shore. We were actually able to hook up Saturday on Spruce Run. I put a couple decent marks up finally after hours and nothing. Like the usual spots I fish, nothing.
Yeah.
I called Kevin. I didn't even find a spot. I started to panic and I called Rob Gatos. And I said, Rob, I'm dying here. I need help. This is ridiculous. I've never seen this bad. And Rob said, "Oh, I'm over here. Come on over. Come on. Get your ass over here." So I went over there. And then I actually did start marking fish. So I called Kevin on the walkie. I said, "Kevin, I got some decent marks here." So Kevin moved up in there, and I got a 22-inch hybrid on. John Somalia reeled it in. And then Kevin, I think 10 minutes after me, got a 22 and a half inch bigger than mine. So, I mean, you're not able to, obviously those fish didn't get on the board, but we were able to put fish up. We were able to show fish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I had a plan. It crashed and burned.
Everything crashed. It did crash. Ed Hutter, I had a mixed match of people coming in, and I had Max Wilson on with me Friday.
Yeah, you were just like Joe Santiago fishing tours rather than fishing a tournament.
I was just guiding everyone, basically. I was just taking boat rides.
Not very well either.
No, horrible. I wouldn't pay for it. I'd ask for a refund, actually, even though it was free. So Max Wilson, Friday night. Ed Hutter was on the boat for all 3 sessions. So Max Wilson, Friday night, we catch a decent rainbow. I pull up a decent rainbow, 17 inches. I throw it on my digital scale. It's 1.78. I throw it in the box. We limited the boat out, but that was the biggest fish. It was me, Max Wilson, Ed Hutter. We left Round Valley. That fish remained in the cooler. At the time, Joe Sadowski had 2 rainbow trout in for first and second place. So I just threw it in the cooler, and I said, I'm not going to waste my time going to Sporting Life with this small fish. I'm just going to go striper fishing.
Right, and then I had one that was a little bit shorter than yours, but then you said it probably weighed more. I didn't even turn that thing in. I filleted it. It's in my fridge.
Look,
I'm gonna eat it for dinner.
What ended up happening, to fast forward through the story, that fish continued to sit in the garage. I checked it in with Justin Yanetta Friday night through the pictures, but I never had it weighed. And it just sat there all weekend. And when I was finally done fishing Round Valley on Sunday, I checked the leaderboard, and third place Rainbow was a 15 1/4 inch with it was 1 1/4 pound. I'm like, I got the fish in the cooler from Friday that could beat that. So Fast Eddie's like, get that fish here now. It might be good. So I went down there, got the fish in. It was good. It got us on the board. It got Team Mayhem up on the board. Now I'm looking at the clock, and there's an hour and a half left to go. And I'm like, now I'm nervous. I'm saying anybody could roll in here with a cooler bigger, no problem. And like, I'm looking around for Reddy. I'm always looking for Reddy, and like, his truck ain't there. So I'm like, this guy's going to pull in any minute with who knows what. And actually, Yanetta came in. While I was there waiting, Matt Yanetta came in with a cooler, and I was, oh, here we go. That's it for me. But he opened the cooler, and it was just filled with lake trout. So I was like, okay, calm down. And it held. So it was the hardest I ever fished in my whole life. I switched my boat 3 complete times, drove back and forth all over the place, fished night, day. Never fished so hard in my life. And it was Mike K and Matt Yanetta. I think they did a phenomenal job running it. I think the raffle was so much fun. Kind of instead of the tournament just ending and everyone dispersing, there was like, a gathering and a hangout there for about 2 hours, which was great.
Right. And I tried to tell people that, like, the raffle itself, there were so many prizes. There's so much stuff donated, so many different prizes, that the raffle itself, that you got free entry into the raffle just for joining the contest. And they gave so many prizes away. It was like, when does this end? Like, there were so many prizes. I think you had a worse chance of not winning anything. Yeah, you did. I think they almost had enough prizes because not everyone showed up for the raffle, and you had to be there. It was just a live thing. They called the number. If the ticket was there, you won the prize that was up next in line. If you weren't there, that's it. Like, I think John, you said John didn't leave his ticket with you. What are you? He won like $100 fishing rod. Gone. Next person. He missed. Yeah, he almost every number. I couldn't believe it was just a great job all around. Really tough fish in the switch back and forth between trout and hybrids in July. I mean, Ed was losing it on the boat. Like, he's telling me, this is pointless. It's been hours. Ed was losing it on me like I've never seen him. So then, was beautiful weather, but it was hot. The fishing, well, yeah, it was hot, but I mean, you're on water, for Christ's sake. Just wet your shirt and put it back on. But I'm saying the fishing was tough. Dude, it was hard. Matt Yanetta came up to me and said, the fishing was tough. And he won one of the categories. And I said, you don't have to tell me. I literally, dude, I've been successfully fishing Spruce Run for probably 10 years in the summer for hybrids, trolling various things. 10 years. I've never needed to, like, guys were doing well, trolling live bait. I've done it before, but I've never needed to. I've always just done my own thing. It's always fucking worked. 10 years. For the tournament, I couldn't do shit. I couldn't do shit.
To be honest with you, I had my bait. I had my live bait that I use all the time there, and I couldn't do shit either. And if Rob Gatos,
by the time you got there, is probably just pounded to shit the whole place.
if Rob Gatos wouldn't have saved me with that, moving me to the spot he was, because the spot he was in is a spot I would have never went to. So Rob kind of really saved me. But just to get my shout outs in, Mike K and Yanetta, phenomenal job running the tournament. Round Valley Trout Association, unbelievable job.
Yeah.
I think everyone had a great time. Max Wilson, Ed Hutter, Katie McGrath, Michael Rivera, everyone who came out to fish to represent Mayhem. Thank you so much. I think Ethan
Luke.
Prophet was.
What about my buddy Luke?
Luke, was Luke there? I don't know what Luke was doing.
Luke was night fishing with me right next to you.
All right, Luke, thank you. Team Mayhem, go Luke. Got to see Rob Gatos, got Mike K, got to see Fast Eddie, got to see Reddy Selassie, got to see Scott Howard, got to see Rob Jasonic, got to meet his friend Barry. So, yeah, met a lot of people. I even saw the famous Joe Sadowski. I didn't even think he ever left Merrill Creek. I thought he's just trying to break his own state record every day, but apparently he comes off there. And when I saw the 2 rainbow trout, he's in first and second on the rainbow board. I'm like, oh God, what is he doing here? And should I even bother with this shit anymore? And then I'm getting text messages from Tarnowski, and it says, Sadowski's in it. Forget it. Just give up. But yeah, it was unbelievable. I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, we should bring someone on like maybe Hutter, who's never fished a tournament before, and have him kind of describe what it was like for people that have never done it. Because, I mean, I fished fishing tournaments before, but not like this. This shit was nuts. It was just crazy. Scott Howard's launching fucking water balloons at me with a homemade boat slingshot. It was craziness. Fishing for 48 hours straight almost.
I didn't know what the fuck I was looking at in that video. He's sticking his oars up, and I'm like, what the hell is he doing?
That's what I didn't know what it was either.
And then he puts a giant rubber band slingshot in between the oars sticking up out of his rod holders in the boat, and he just starts launching water balloons at you.
It was just... But yeah,
awesome.
We're going to get more into that Grand Slam and hopefully have a whole episode where we could just talk about it and maybe interview each category that won. Because if we get into that tournament too much, it'll just kill the whole episode, and we have a guest coming on. And we do have other stuff. But we're not done with this Grand Slam. We will get more into it. And on a side note, I know Catfish wasn't in the... But that catfish that Greg Warchick caught, I mean, that catfish is unbelievable. Did you see that?
That was cool. Yeah.
He said it was way over the 33-inch mark on his bunk board.
Yeah, I believe it.
That fish, it looks huge.
Yeah, and then the best part is then all the people that come on after and be like, yeah, I catch giant catfish bigger than that all the time.
Oh, yeah, everyone's always got a story, but they don't have a picture.
About 10 years ago, I just stopped believing anything anyone said unless they showed me a picture proof.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you.
That's just me.
Okay, I got John Gabrini. John Gabrini has nothing to say because he said he had a 105 fever with a mysterious illness, so he did nothing.
Not brand new. Is that new age COVID? What is that?
I don't know what it is. He's patient 0 of whatever it is. I'm not sure. Look how sunburned my face is. You could see where the sunglasses were for the tour. It's just, I got to go to sleep.
You have hats and neck buffs, don't you?
I didn't have it. It was so hot. I thought I was going to pass out at times. It was just too much.
You're on water.
So
wet. You're wet the stuff.
Listen to me. The water was 82. It wasn't cooling anyway.
It helped.
So the Knee Deep Club had a tournament also. First place, Kevin Poole, 7 pounds, 15 ounces. He took $410. Second place, Eddie Mackin, 7 pounder. And third place, Dan Dacey, 6 pound, 15 ouncer. So yeah.
And I believe he was the third place. I believe was fishing with Kevin Cool. I believe so. First and third from the same boat.
Okay.
Which is, I'm pretty sure. Either way, I mean, it's pretty dominating.
Well, his
right there.
fishing report from Lake Apacon goes they're mostly still slow trolling during the day for stripers. He says the night bite's still active. If you're looking to night fish, he says it's still fairly good.
Yeah, I've seen them putting up posts every now and then. Still looks good.
The other thing is this Saturday, I believe it's at 5:30, is when the live shark fishing episode is going to take place on YouTube Live. We will be live from the beach with wet side sharking, Louie. And like I said before, the camera's going to go live and it's not going to stop. If you want to come on, in theory, if you want to come on, you could actually come on and ask a question. You could also type and just talk to me so I'm not bored while I'm waiting there. But, yeah, if you have nothing to do Saturday night and just want to watch two idiots sitting on a beach waiting for a shark to bite, it will be on YouTube free for everyone live, and you can talk to us live.
I mean, should I bring like a Frisbee or something?
You could bring anything, yeah, that attracts viewers. Maybe wear a tang tie. They like your guinea tees.
Yeah.
Yeah, wear a guinea tee. They love that.
All right.
Yeah, so, and if you're watching the live and liking it, if you could just share the link. We want to try to get as many people into these live things. The more people we get into them, we'll do more of them. So we're going to see how it goes. Probably horrible, but we're going to try.
Well, I mean, we started this whole thing basically to get as many people involved as possible, try to make like a sort of community in a way that hadn't really been done yet, exactly at least. And, so we're just trying different things. This is
if you've never been shark fishing from the beach and you're interested in doing it, you could watch us do it Saturday. We're going to be doing it, and you're going to see the whole thing. Because, I said, the camera's going to roll the whole time, and you'll actually be able to ask questions to the guide.
Yeah, Louis going to share info. I mean,
John Fallon's going to be there taking pictures, hopefully, of something on a fishing line.
Yeah, I mean, God willing, he's not just taking pictures of me running in the wash in a guinea tee catching a Frisbee. It seems like every time I do something from YouTube Live, there seems to be a problem getting in there. But this should work and allow you to go get in. We worked out all the bugs, you think?
I hope so. And then after it's over, it will remain on the YouTube channel as an episode. There won't be a podcast episode next week because this live shark fishing episode is the episode. Yeah,
I think, we're going to basically chop it down into an episode size and
a GoPro video.
And release it for the week. But if you want to, live... Well, let's put it this way. The live viewing is going to have a ton of crap that you're not going to get in whatever we release later in the week.
The one released later in the week will pretty much be the highlights of it. You're not going to see the whole.
Yeah,
But I do think the actual live itself remains on the Facebook channel for 30 days.
Okay.
So you could go back in there and watch the live again if you wanted to.
Basically, I'm trying to get people to actually come live like you wanted, and you're talking them out of it because they can just come later and watch it.
Yeah. Well, I don't really give a shit. Watch it live.
If you don't watch it live in the last 3 days,
it hasn't been a lot of sleep. That's why. Is Teeter ready? Because we're going.
You look like shit. Let's get Teeter on here. I'm tired of listening to you.
Mikey K has killed me. I have nothing left.
All right, let's get him in. So our guest this evening is pretty unique. All right. We got the opportunity to talk to not only an avid angler, but a lawyer. All right. Tonight we have with us attorney Matt Teeter, Esquire, and I'm just reading this off of his, he sent this to us. I have to read it word for word. He's of the firm of Roberts and Teeter out of Somerset, New Jersey. 2023 Middlesex County Young Lawyer of the Year, trustee of the Knee Deep Club with Mackin and Graybill. Grew up fishing Carnegie and Farrington Lakes in Central. He sent me like 3 pages to I'm not reading this shit. Matt, what's up?
What's going on, brother?
Did I read
Graybill?
enough of your
Is
intro?
Graybill
You sent me a
I
book.
think it's good enough. It's good enough.
Is
guys
Graybill a trustee?
Yeah, trustee.
I thought it was
Gotta be
Kevin
club.
Poole.
So
I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm a big fan. I watched pretty much every episode if I'm sitting at my desk between virtual court.
That's horrible.
And saw John was on last week. I thought that was awesome. I love his work. His work is like amazing.
Appreciate that. We appreciate it.
And in all seriousness, we're real happy to have you on. This is going to be a cool experience. I mean, to have the unique aspect of both, being an avid angler and being a lawyer, I think we can have some pretty interesting conversations as far as where the law and
Oh yeah, can I go
fishing
first?
cross
I'm
over.
ready. I'm ready. Can I go first?
It was like a pit bull over here.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, just so you know, Matt, Joe's operating on about 3 hours of sleep and 10 pounds of marijuana, and I don't
Hey,
know
man,
how.
If it's legal and you got it, smoke it, brother. That's
Hey,
what
I'm not knocking it. I'm just letting you know. I don't know where he's going to go with this.
My most important question that I have for him:
Here we go.
when my feet are in the water of a river and I'm trout fishing, when does the landowner have the right to tell me to leave the river because he owns the property?
I mean, first off, if it's moving water, it's not private property. Okay, so if it's a river, if it's a stream, it's public. The biggest thing I think I get on this is, hey, I want to fish this public water, but I have to cross somebody's private property to get there. Is it a trespass? The answer is yes, it is, unless there's an easement with the town or some area that they let you walk through that you legally are allowed to walk through.
So what if I get in the river and I walk 3 miles downstream, staying in the water the whole time?
Yeah, he doesn't own the water.
See,
So
Chris will argue that.
Well, no, I'm not arguing anything. I'm just going to tell you what I've heard. If you tell me it's wrong, if you tell me for a fact it's wrong, I'll believe what you say.
Well, how does
Okay.
Well, let's just clarify this. I'm a criminal defense attorney. So if you're asking me property questions, I'm thinking back to law school. I'm answering to the best of my ability, but it's not per se my area of expertise. If it's criminal law, regular stuff like that.
What gives a trout club the right to put a chain across the river then if I'm allowed to walk up into the water?
I don't know. I don't know what would allow them to do that. But there's a lot of people, whether it's private citizens or associations or clubs, that think that they can do whatever they can, and they can't. So whatever they're doing, they may think is okay, but I'm telling you that there's a good chance that it's not, and they've just been getting away with it for a long time. But what I always tell people is this: if you're running into a situation where somebody's saying, "Get off my property, it's private property," go check with the township. Go talk to the township. They'll tell you whether it's private property or not. There's zoning. There's everything. So they'll tell you, hey, like that area that's just private property. You can't go there. Or they'll say, no, it's public and you have a right to be there. And then the next time that happens, you tell that guy, go ahead and call the police. And when the police or the warden come down or whatnot, you say, listen, I spoke with Susie or whoever her name is at the municipal building at the administrative office, and I was told that this was public, and I checked with the township first. And then you kind of leave it up to the police officer. And if you're right, he's just going to tell the other people, listen, he has every right to be here. He's did everything he was supposed to do. He made, he crossed his T's and dotted his I's, so to say. So always check, because it's about private property or public property, but also notice. Are there signs? Did they put up signs? How big are the signs? How many signs are there? Because, like my mother-in-law lives in a 55 and older community with like a body of water between all the places. I see kids bass fishing there all the time. Nobody calls the police, but there's a sign every 3 feet that says no fishing. And associations can do that, homeowners. But what you're talking about is completely different. And I don't know if they have the right to chain the river. So you're saying I've never heard of that.
Here's what I've heard. Well, I guess you don't do a lot of trout fishing, obviously, but
Not trout fisher, no.
You've never trout fished?
Couple times, handful of times. It was mainly trolling with planer boards. It was okay.
Oh, I'm talking. Okay, so you've never trout fished in a stream?
No deep digging like you do, no. Or okay. What are you fly fishing for them?
No. So if you around the New Jersey in different spots, there's trout clubs, and they supposedly own these sections of river. Or what I was going to say, the way I always understood it was if one person or entity owns the land on either side of the river, then they can chain off that river to stop you from walking through it, but they can't stop you from floating through it or something like that. That's
very strange to me that I mean, I would want to know anytime anybody confronts me about something like that, I would say, well, what regulation do you have to point to that says that I can't stand here in this river? I can't do this. Right.
Well,
but so in Joe's situation where he's kind of standing in the river, I mean, is he standing 2 feet from the guy's dock? Because I mean, with water rights, they extend a little bit beyond the dock and whatnot. But this must be just a trout thing with streams. I never hear. I mean, other than we'll get to it later. The idea of the Lake Apacon Foundation passing this legislation where you can't anchor within 100 feet of a dock. Other than that, I don't see a lot of people, really griping about it, especially on Lake Apacon and things like that. So this must be a trout association thing in the streams. I mean,
well, I fish New York, the Salmon River, the Douglaston Salmon Run. They're one of the last real legitimate river bottom deeds in the USA. Like they own the river bottom. They have the deed for it for the first 3 miles or 2 miles of Salmon River. So you can float there, but the drift boats won't dare to do it because if they even bump one rock, they'll get a trespassing ticket.
That's ridiculous. It's crazy.
But these people in New Jersey, they do not have river bottom deeds. The DSR can never even sell that deed. It has to be inherited down, or if it'll just be liquidated. It can't be sold. It has to stay in the family.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry. I don't know where, like you said, I don't know where you would find the actual regulation or law or whatever that says if you own both sides of a stream, you own the bottom of that stream, the ground underneath as well, and you can, to walk through the river in that area would be trespassing.
I'm unsure, but I'll tell you what I'll do. If you fit certain areas in New Jersey and you tell me what township you're in, I'll reach out to the township attorney and I'll ask him, because he's the one that's going to prosecute it. I'll reach out to the municipal prosecutor in the town and say, listen, when your officers are writing citations for trespass or whatever this is, how are you prosecuting them? And what are you looking for? And what constitutes a full trespass to you in comparison to, somebody who's just kind of briefly walking through, no harm, no foul. I'll ask him flat out. There's always answers. You just have to dig.
Well, we'd be fishing. So if I'm walking through a stream, right, and I come across a chain or no trespassing signs on both sides of the river,
right,
I kind of think okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to turn around here. If I was to go past those and keep fishing, do they have the right to stop me from doing that? Is that their property? I guess that's the main question.
Off the top of my head, I would say no. But if there's something that exists that I'm unaware of that they have with either an ordinance or something something with the township, that's what I would dig into. And just keep this in mind also. Just because somebody writes you a citation doesn't mean that they're correct. It happens all the time.
Right. We call Matt Teeter and he gets us out of it.
I'm just saying, I deal with fishing.
We have him on retainer. He's this NJ multi-species retainer.
I deal with more hunting than I do fishing, truthfully. But just because the guys write the citations doesn't mean the prosecutor's going to agree. He's got to prove the case, and a lot of times we sit down and go over it, and he's just like, "Yeah, I don't agree," or "I don't know why they wrote the citation."
Well,
I'm definitely,
let me ask you. Let me ask you this. Me and Chris, we go under the club chain. We start fishing. They call the cops. The cops come down. They shoot Chris and kill him, and they arrest me. They take me in, and they charge me now with trespassing. Chris is dead, so no one cares. What am I facing for this? Am I looking at jail time? Am I looking at a huge fine? What's the penalty?
Now, just keep in mind, Matt, real quick, Joe convinced me to do this, so my death is kind of his fault.
No one cares. You're dead. Irrelevant.
Well, whoever murders Chris will get, life in prison without the possibility of parole.
The cop shot him because he looked suspicious. It was justifiable.
Never mind. He'll just get off. No problem.
Yeah, the cop's off.
All right. As far as trespassing, I'm going to be honest with you. First time offense, it's just fines. I mean, look,
what kind of fine? $600 or $60?
It ranges. It's up to the prosecutor. Usually, they give you the minimums. The lowest I've seen, it's like $100. It can go up depending on if you're a repeat offender or not. But
we're most likely going to be repeat offenders, I would say.
Yeah, once it works,
we're
going to do is accumulate like 7 or 8 of those tickets and not care, and then when we go to court, we'll get like 6 of them or 7 of them dismissed, and we'll only deal with 1 and pay fines. But I mean, listen, if I could land like a 26-inch,
if I could land one like 26-inch brown before the cops get there, the $60 is worth it. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, or you just give him a business card.
It feels like we're getting into the realm of condoning illegal behavior.
He's a criminal defense attorney. I'm not sure what you want me to ask him.
Matt, all right, this is my ultimate serious suggestion is go to your township before you go. Find out, talk to the clerk at the building. They probably deal with it all the time, and you say, "Look, I'd just like clarification on whether or not this body of water is private property, or where I'm going to be fishing is considered private property, or if it's considered public property, and are there any notices that basically tell me that I can't fish recreationally?" Let them be the ones to tell you and get the name of the person, because when that local police officer or sheriffs or game warden, whatever, show up and you say, "This is who I spoke to in the township," it demonstrates that you've taken the time out of your day to at least look into it before you decided to go out there, because you knew that there was a possibility that somebody would have a grudge about it, and that you spoke to the township officials about it. I've never had anybody, I mean, most of the time they don't even write you a ticket. They just tell you to get out of there. They just give you a warning, right? I mean, let's be honest. They're not going to give you jail time on something that's a nonviolent offense and it's your first time, right? You've got to be a pretty notorious and serial trespasser to the point where they don't know what else to do to punish you or deter you, so then they want to put you in jail. We're a state that doesn't like to put people in jail on nonviolent offenses typically, which is why we had the marijuana reform, which is why our laws continuously change, and they're more lenient, so to say, because the taxpayers are just paying so much money for people incarcerated, and it's like, well, he got caught with a bag of weed. Like, what do we do putting him in jail? I
mean, I don't think it's not. People aren't worried about going to jail. I don't think. I think it's more like they don't want to be hassled, but they also don't understand how it's fair that this could be happening. And on top of that, I just want to throw this in there too. I have seen, there's an area where there's a New Jersey Wildlife Management area, right? They have their own rules, but you can do what you can do there, and you can fish. And at some point, this wildlife management area touches some trout rivers, and you fish there. Now there's a property owner nearby, and he literally posted no trespassing signs all over the place, including covering up some of the wildlife management signs. And I just happened to know because I knew the area. Me and my buddy, and one of them was like ripping down, and you could see it behind it. And so
listen, I wouldn't touch any of the signs. Don't rip them down.
No, we didn't do it.
I'm saying it as advice for me to give you would be, if you think that like they're covering them up, you want to report it, but don't touch any of the signs yourself. I think that's quite humorous that they would be covering the other signs, but if he's saying no trespassing, where is his property line? I mean, It's got to stop at some point.
Right. And I was able to pull up like a sort of tax map. My buddy Dwayne sent like this tax map, and I was able to look at the tax map, and I could see that I mean, I'm not a land surveyor, but I could tell he was nowhere near. He was trying to keep people off of places where they could go. And
Yeah.
my point is, I don't think this is not a isolated incident.
They got your phone. Open Google Maps and screenshot exactly where you are.
Well, this particular time.
Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that.
Screenshot exactly where you are if you believe where you're fishing is legal, so that if there's any dispute as to where you were, it's like, listen, here's where I was.
To get this is how we get spots from people.
No, listen.
You don't want
in this particular situation, I did report it. I called the state. I called people from the state. I'm like, look, you got the wildlife management area, blah, blah, blah. I told them the whole thing. This guy has not hassled me since. So I guess my point is, my advice to anyone listening to this, if you see no trespassing sign somewhere and you think it's kind of weird, or like, the house is nowhere nearby and the river, and there's a wildlife management area, or like a Green Acres or something, I don't know.
Doesn't mean they're correct just because they put a sign up.
Right. I think it happens really often, unfortunately.
More frequently than people probably think, because the person just figures, if I put up the signs and they see them, they're just going to assume it's my property.
Right.
So I like Chris's approach, which is, challenge it, but you got to do it in a professional manner and a nice manner. You don't want the police or someone to show up and this guy say, yeah, they cursed me off and they were harassing me and this and that. It's got to be, hey, listen, we were nothing but cordial, polite, and professional with him the whole time. And I've looked into this, and I don't believe that where I am is trespassing. And let the police deal with it. They're going to be like, oh, God. And they're going to have to go in and tell the guy, listen, we believe he's there. If you want to try to, sue him, but we're not going to physically remove him from the property. And that gets into a whole realm of law that I'm not a part of. I don't sue anybody. I'm a defense attorney in a criminal courts. But I've seen injunctions filed and people try to do things. I had a guy, he shot a 14-point buck in New Jersey. It was unusual. It had 10. I'm not a hunter, so take the story for what it's worth. Had 10 points on one side, 4 on the other. After he shot the deer, it went on somebody else's property, and the deer goes down towards water when it's shot, whatnot. He hires a guy with a dog. He finds the deer, rings his neighbor's doorbell, and he's like, listen, I've hunted this deer, and everyone in the area and all the cams that have set up, this is a deer everyone's been after. I shot it. I want to go retrieve it. They told him no. They said no. If he went on the property, it was trespass. He flat out went and got it. He didn't care. He went at night. He dragged the deer. He got it. They reported him, whatever. And the prosecutor, the police came, whatever. The prosecutor threw the case out. He's like, he went right over the line to get the deer. So like,
by the way, the compendium's written, though, that's not his deer. That landowner has to say yes, and he has the right to say no. I've been told no before.
They wrote him a citation. Like I said, they wrote him a citation. But when I went
on to the next topic, you have me blocked on Facebook and keep friend requesting my wife. What's going on with that?
So the friend requesting to the wife is she was asking if I knew any good family law attorneys.
She's looking for a divorce.
Alimony, child support, the whole nine. She said the podcast is just taking over your life.
So that's why she's reaching out to you. It makes sense now.
Joe Santiago snuggles or whatever.
I
can't figure out why you're blocked on Facebook. If anybody out there,
we can't figure it out. It's broken.
We've literally gone in and checked, and I can't tell. But what I want to discuss with you two.
Can I ask one more? I got to ask one more.
Go ahead.
Stop cop blocking him. He wants to talk about certain things.
Let me get my questions out. I don't get to talk to a lawyer ever.
Oh, God. Here we
go.
Tell
me whenever you want, Joe.
This is something I've heard for a long time, a rumor. I've always heard that game wardens have the most jurisdiction on American soil and require no search warrant to come onto your property. Is that true?
I don't believe that part of it's true. The first part of what you said might be true because of running rivers and where they go. But I don't know where you heard that they don't need a warrant to do that. They would absolutely have to apply for a warrant, and they have to indicate what specifically they're looking in issuing this warrant. So we're trying to go onto this person's property.
But I think they're only like they can't go in and say, "Oh, we saw a shotgun on the couch." Like,
right? No, you're right about that.
They're going in looking for a deer head or
got shorts and you're keeping fish and they want to board your boat. They can do that without a warrant, right? They can step on your boat and ID you, make sure you got your fishing license and all that. I mean, they do that. State police do that on Lake Pacon.
Yeah, because
but as
right
far as
now,
going home and saying, well, we found a shotgun on the cat, like none of that would fly. It would be
when
tossed.
you shoot a doe in New Jersey, you have to hold the head for 24 hours and be able to produce the head for 24 hours. If he knocks on my door and says, hey, we saw the doe you checked in, we want to see the head, and I say, go fuck yourself, I'm not showing you anything, he could walk right in and go check my freezer for that head, or he needs a search warrant.
I would be completely shocked if in any state in America they would allow somebody to just walk in, open your freezer and check to see if there's a head. So the answer to that is, even though I'm 99.9% certain and not 100%, but I'm 99.9% certain that they would need to apply for one. You'd have to have reason to believe that it's being stored there. But have you ever heard of anybody, any of your friends or anything where that's ever happened?
I've seen it on like the Maine law, the Maine shows, and the Alaskan state troopers, that kind of shit.
You watch too much SVU. That's the problem. You just call me. I'll tell you what it's like.
I mean, no, but like even if when a guy, open your cooler, like, well, I don't want to open why do I have to open my cooler?
He's Matt. He's lit up 10 pounds of marijuana. Look at his eyes. He's tweaking. He's making shit up.
I just haven't slept.
I'm all for it. I tell clients this all the time. If you're a smoker, not a drinker, like I am, then all the more.
Nothing to do with smoking. I've been fishing since fucking Friday, and I welded all day today. I want to go to bed.
All right, then you're going to shut up and you're going to let Matt talk about what he wants to come on and talk
about. The number one thing that when people come into my office, they see some fishing pictures on the walls, some nice catches I have, and they'll say, oh, did you ever hear about the walleye fisherman, the cheating scandal? And listen, I don't know a single angler who hasn't heard of it, right? Last night I'm showing my wife the video. She's like, I didn't hear about this. I show her the video. They're cutting the walleye open, revealing the weights and whatnot. It's fucking horrific, right? Yeah. But these guys get sentenced. And the number one question people always ask me to come off is, what did you think of the sentence? Did you think it was too harsh? So I'm going to read you what these guys were sentenced to, what the original charges were, what they were sentenced to. And I want you to tell me if you thought that the punishment that they received was too harsh, not harsh enough, and why. All right? So the two guys, they get sentenced in March. They pled guilty to a felony charge of cheating and a misdemeanor count of illegal animal ownership. We don't call them misdemeanors in New Jersey. We don't have misdemeanors. They're called disorderly persons offenses, just so that you know, so that you're not confused. If you see this.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How much money would they have won if they didn't get caught?
Well, what they were thinking is that they were doing it all year, and that's why they had to surrender their boat. We'll get to it. Let me get through the sentence.
Doesn't that go into embezzlement and fraud?
It's hard to prove that stuff, right? It's hard to prove it in the past just because you suspect it. But they were suspecting it for a while. The guy who was running the tournaments up at, I think it was Lake Ontario, they suspected it for a while, but they couldn't really get them. And then all of a sudden these guys are catching fish that for the length, the weight is unusual for the length of the walleye, right? And these guys were stuffing walleye fillets into the walleye as well. And the purpose of the walleye fillets was to prevent the lead sinkers from hitting and making noise. So when you picked up the fish or you moved the fish, you didn't hear these lead weights or whatnot clinking together. That's why they were shoving. When they cut them open, they actually pulled whole walleye fillets out of their stomach that these guys were shoving down the throat, right? I already know what Chris's opinion is going to be on this, but I'm going to read it to you, okay? They got 10 days in jail, 18 months of probation. Both men paid a $2,500 fine. They had their fishing licenses suspended for a maximum, which is 3 years in that state. And they had to forfeit the boat that they used in the tournament, which was valued at $130,000. I believe they had won that boat earlier in the year or something along those lines. So I guess what the prosecutor had suggested was that they would dismiss the felony charges of attempted grand theft and possessing criminal tools. So fair sentence, not a fair sentence. I'll hold my opinion back until you guys go, but I just want to know what your thoughts are on that.
I think everything there is pretty fair except for the suspension of the fishing license should be for life.
Okay.
Life sentence. No fishing.
I mean, look, that's easy to say. Someone steals something from you. I cut their hands off. I mean, but it's not realistic. I mean, what I would ask is,
I feel like cheaters are a certain breed of people, and like once you're a cheater, you're always a cheater, and that like certain people don't cheat, and there's ones that just always are gonna cheat.
I mean, I agree. It's the same thing as stealing. Is someone who steals is just.
Did you think the sentence was appropriate?
Well, I'm trying to get out. Joe keeps interrupting. I want to know what is this sentencing similar to if I broke into someone's house in that state and stole that amount of money, what would the sentencing be? Would it be similar?
I mean, they didn't get any money. They just cut the check to the next team that was the second place team became the first place team. But that's a hard question to answer, trying to compare it with a hypothetical. But
how much was that check?
I don't know. It's not just that. You got to remember they won a boat earlier the year, and there's some of the prosecutors saying, "Listen, I may not be able to prosecute you on all that other stuff, but you're going to forfeit the boat because we don't know whether you won that boat legitimately or not. You're going to forfeit it if you want this deal." But here's what my issue was. I thought the 10 days in jail was inappropriate and too harsh. Guys that age with families and kids, their reputations are ruined for life. They'll never, even after 3 years of getting their fish license back, they'll never be accepted into any organization or tournament. Their reputations are tarnished on a national level. 18 months probation, $2,500 in fine. I can't fish for 3 years, and you take my boat, and I've been humiliated on a national level. I think that's fair enough. And I think the only reason why the judge gave 10 days of jail is because the case got so much national attention that the pressure was kind of on him to kind of set an example, so to say, and deter these guys. So, I mean, which leads me to this. Did you know? I'm going to educate the viewers and you guys. In New Jersey, anyone convicted of a second fish or wildlife violation in this state or another state within a period of 5 years will have his New Jersey sporting licenses revoked for a minimum of 2 years. Okay, that's 2 years. A third or subsequent conviction within 5 years will cause a 3-year suspension from the date of the last conviction. All right? And New Jersey is a state that actually can take it for life. Okay?
Now,
they can.
Well, here's the thing with all that, right? So if you're talking about someone who's going to break the regulations, right? Okay, they get caught, they get fined, they get their stuff taken away, they get their licenses taken away. They're gonna do it. They're gonna do it again, right? Now they get caught again. Now they don't like. Now they get more of a fine. Apparently, there's not enough law enforcement to catch these guys enough times to make it not worth it for them to take the risk. And so in that aspect, I think there needs to be worse punishments. But it's tough because I do agree with you, like, we're putting these guys in jail.
What does 10 days do?
Yeah,
it's not like 6 months. It's 10 days. What are we doing?
No, I do agree with you on that point. It's just kind of, it's like you said, I'm sure, like, it's just to show, like, well, here's 10 days in jail just because I got to show everyone that I did something.
Matt, do you, as an defense attorney, do you consider fishing to be a right or a privilege?
Man, that's a tough question. It's a privilege. It's not a right.
Is it really a privilege? How is it a privilege?
It's not a right to drive your vehicle on the public roadways, is it?
I mean,
according
license, to the state it isn't, but according to the federal government it is. I mean, the federal government says you don't need a driver's license, no?
Well, the federal government controls some of the state. Just be careful. Don't get caught with this on Sandy Hook because you'll still get cited for it. Marijuana is still legal federally. And so
that's only the nude beach.
They call me. Well, they call me and they say I was on Sandy Hook and I thought this was legal. I'm like, yeah, not on Sandy Hook. So federal is definitely different. But as far as... What was your question again?
I don't even remember.
Oh my God, I'm on the podcast with two freaking potheads. I can't remember.
The question was, do you think fishing a right or a privilege? And you said
I think it's a privilege. I think if you're using the waterways and the taxpayers' money, I mean, if it was like nobody if the state doesn't regulate the bodies of water, that's different, but they do, right? So fishing and I mean, I think it's ridiculous that some of this stuff, like what they're charging for a boat launch fee, is like as much as what your fishing license would cost. But that's another topic. But as far as I mean, I don't think you have an absolute right just to take fish from the state of New Jersey. I think it's a privilege, and I think I'm probably maybe in the minority on that opinion.
How about saltwater?
Well,
I never, the saltwater thing always makes me laugh because it's like, are you on the New Jersey side or on the New York side fluking? Like, how are they going to, where are they writing your citation? Because there's different length requirements.
Well, the ocean's there. The fish aren't stocked.
They just patrol. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you can't say it only applies for one and not the other. So I would say overall, I think the state should be able to take your license in it being a privilege. I mean, I think if you're like, I just printed a couple of these things, right? Because I don't know them off the top of my head, and I wanted to print the ones that are the most important for people watching this. And some of them I just don't agree with. Some of them I'm just like this one I thought you'd like, Joe. NJSA 23:7-3 controls this, but conviction of a violation of causing damage to real or personal property, including pets and livestock, while taking wildlife will result in a 5-year loss of privileges to take and possess wildlife. Now, some of these you think are more hunting than fishing, but it really does apply to both. I was interested to know if New Jersey could take your license for life, because in Ohio, the maximum that they got was 3 years. But in our state, they will take it. They can take it for life. So rest assured, if you're dealing with these assholes out there that you see doing the same thing over and over, you hope that they get caught up enough for that the state's just going to say, look, we've given you enough opportunity and we're taking it. Do you think that guy should just have the right to be like, no, F you, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to catch whatever sharks I want and keep whatever sharks I want?
But the problem is, like I said, take their license away, they're still going to go and do it. And then when they get caught, the penalty is not enough.
It eventually increases. I mean, that goes.
They also don't offer the lifetime license, which most states in the surrounding area do. We're one of the only states that don't have it.
Because they'd be losing out on money. Everything is all about money with the state.
I know, but you could whatever, $500 state lifetime license, whatever, for $300. I don't know. All the other states do it. New Jersey's always such a crock of shit with everything it does.
Well,
2 convictions of the following will result in a lifetime revocation: safety zone violations or causing damage to real personal property, negligent use of a weapon, things like that. Again, I think that's more hunting than it is fishing, but it can happen. And if you're gonna, and when somebody comes to me and they were cited the first time, I'm like, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not worth what you're gonna end up paying my firm to represent you on something that you probably can just go to court and get a fine on if it's the first one. And even people that have hired me on first ones because they're just nervous, they don't want to deal with it themselves, and they're willing to spend the money, I almost, like 90% of them I never see again. They never come back to me. The ones that have been like repeats that like, hey, I got another violation, it's usually like guys keeping fish that they're not supposed to, or shorts. And then what basically you have to request a hearing, and it's got to be done within 30 days of the citation. So anybody out there who gets a citation, and it's like a second or a third, and you're looking to challenge it, you don't want to waste time. Time is the essence. You have to make the request for the hearing, and you'll be represented by an attorney. And I'm just looking at some of the requirements and the procedures: name, address, telephone number of the person requesting the hearing, copy of the decision document, description of any facts or issues a petitioner believes constitute a defense to the decision, important information, photos, stuff like that. So I always tell people, like, if you take screenshots of where you were on that day and you can prove that, hey, I wasn't here there. I mean, sometimes that saves you. I mean, and if it's going to hurt you, then I'm not going to, I'm not going to turn it over.
Can I ask one more question? This is my last question. This is it for me, Chris.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I'm out on Lake Apacon. I get pulled over by state police.
Right.
State police asked to see the driver's license, the boat registration, the typical bullshit. The state trooper just notices a 10-inch walleye laying on the floor of my boat. Does he even have any idea what the fuck he's looking at, and can he take it and measure it, or does he have to call a game warden in for that shit?
It's always been a game warden who writes the citation. I've never seen a state police write that.
So state police is basically going to check the registration, your boater's license, make sure the paperwork's legit. But as far as fish and shit like that, they're not into any of that.
They don't give a shit about it now. Let's be honest.
No.
What do you think they're out there on the water looking for?
I was always curious.
What do you think that they're looking for out on the water? In
They're
Byram's,
looking for DUIs.
that's it, man. They're just looking for people boozing, and that's, you know.
But do they have the info? Do the state police that are out in the boats patrolling these lakes, do they know the size limit?
They have the info that that's a short knot. I just think it's kind of like it's not really for us to deal with. But I mean, could they radio, or are they in contact continuously with game wardens? I'm sure they are. I mean, listen, most of the state police I've ran into, and I fish a pack on no less than 1 day a week, sometimes twice a week. They're pretty cool dudes out there. I mean, they've never given me a hard time. But if they saw that, how would they know that you just didn't catch it and just came off the hook or was in the net or something like that?
I'm just curious because I happen to run into the state police a lot more often than I run into an actual game warden.
You guys want to story? I told Chris that an NJ warden called me from a post I made on NJ Fishing on a Facebook page. I told you that story, right? Didn't I tell you that?
Tell it here.
Not
I'm
me.
going to tell it right now. So this might have been a couple days into the season for smallmouth, largemouth regulations. What, April 15th to June 15th? Is that right? Okay. So it might be April 17th now, maybe 2 days. I just lost track of time, and I don't fish for trout. And anyone who knows me knows I just don't. I'm a smallmouth guy, and we were fishing the lake, and we just hit a nice pod of them, like a real nice pod. We were just, the bite was crazy. It was like back to back to back to back. The biggest went like 4 pounds 5 ounces. The smallest might have been a little over 2.5. Okay. I don't know if it's April. I mean, I don't know if they were bedding. We weren't targeting beds or anything like that. I was actually just fishing for hybrids, and just kind of came across them, which was, when I'm targeting smallmouth, I'll use square bills and stuff. We were just using swim baits, and they were going nuts. Okay, and they were going nuts for these herring, alewife looking swim baits, which is what anybody will fish on that lake, based on what they feed on. And I posted a photo on NJ Fishing of us with 4 fish. Now, keep in mind they were back to back. So some were in the net as we were still reeling the other ones, right? Took a quick picture. Only one of them went. I put on the biggest one in the live well because she looked like she was bleeding a little bit. I wanted to kind of aerate her a little bit. All fish safely released right where we caught them, which is really what the legislative intent is behind the regulations. You have to understand. They want the fish to be able to breed. They don't want you to keep them. They want you to release them, and it is what it is, right? First off, I don't know anybody that eats smallmouth bass. I don't. I'm sure maybe it's good. I've only ever kept walleye from the lake. But certainly don't eat them. And
no, he doesn't. I know people that do eat walleye. I mean, smallmouth, and it ain't it.
And they were released right then and there because I can tell that they were, full of eggs. The bellies were big. I mean, they were feeding heavy too. So they were released right then and there. We post this picture, and there's always some douchebag. There's always some guys on NJ Fishing, rather than just being like, hey, like when I sent Eddie the picture, he was like, that's saying you got to call me right now. He's like, that's an impressive bag. Like, some kid was like, must have called a game warden or something based on the picture. And Joe's going to laugh his ass off at this part of the story, but I guess I had told the guy on NJ Fishing, like, listen, I'm aware of regulations. I'm an attorney. Thank you. Like, I appreciate your input. Like, keep it moving type thing. So he must have called this game warden. The game warden must have called, looked up the law firm number, my law firm number, and called the firm. And on weekends, it connects to either my phone or my partner's phone, right? In case of an emergency, somebody gets locked up overnight. They need, So he calls me. He tells me he's a game warden. And I thought it was one of my friends just fucking with me. So for like 10 minutes, I'm fucking with him. Tell him, oh yeah, we kept 50 of them. They were good. We, garlic butter, like fucking with him until he's like, no, you don't understand. I'm really a game warden. I'm like, let me get this straight. You're a game warden. You looked up my law firm number. You get me on the phone. The first question you ask is if my name is Matt Teeter. I tell you yes. You ask me if I was fishing Lake Capacon on this specific date, right? So you're calling me to elicit a criminal response from me, and you never once gave me any type of Miranda warning or anything before you start talking to me on the phone? He's like dead quiet on the phone. And I'm like, I want you about how ridiculous this is. I said, somebody showed you a picture or pointed you to a picture of us holding 4 fish that we released. You don't know when we caught them. You don't know anything like that. He's like, well, we're not going to write any citation right now. I'm like, I wouldn't mind if you did, because they would be tossed out of court so quickly. Like, but he legitimately took his time. Like, oh yeah, I saw the picture. I was directed to the page. Like, and by the end of the conversation, it was him and I laughing. And he's just like, yeah, sometimes these things are ridiculous, but I have to say that I did my follow-up and say that I did my job. But I'm not writing any citations. And then he was asking me what we were using for bait.
Yeah, well,
That's how that went. But that's how ridiculous sometimes Fish and Wildlife and the game wardens can be. That it's like, man, it's really not that serious, and they were released right then and there. I mean, you can have your opinion on it, but at the end of the day, don't you have more important things to do? Like, that's just kind of what I'm getting at. Like, there are people out there that are keeping. You see these posts all the time from the state, buckets and buckets of shorts and fish. Like,
yeah,
that's problem. It's not like, hey, we took a picture, and it's kind of what leads to the whole shark thing that you and I were talking about. You were upset about. It's like, can I take a picture with it, even if it's on a list of species of shark that I'm not supposed to be fishing for? And am I not entitled to take a photo with it, like as I'm releasing it, or
yeah?
That's a big thing with tarpon, isn't it? It's very, very expensive to go tarpon fishing, and you can't take a picture holding one, right?
I don't know about the tarpon.
I believe you got to keep them in the water if they're over a certain size.
I followed up
to stay in the water.
The shark thing for Chris. We could touch on that, but basically what they're saying with the sharks are, keep them in 2 to 4 inches of water. They can't be dragged up on the dry sand or whatever. It'll fuck with their gills. It'll ruin their skin, things like that. So they want them kept in the water. And I'm sure these guys will tell you that when you're going to fish with them, but generally they want the face of the shark pointed outwards towards the waves, so that there's constantly water flowing through their gills. And there's regulations on circle hooks, right? You got to look into all that shit. I think it can't be stainless steel. Circle hooks, and I think it's crazy because it's like they added all these species. Chris and I were talking. It's like, how do I know what shark's going to bite my hook? Like I'm fishing. I'm throwing bait out there. Like, how do I know exactly what I'm specifically targeting? I think, and when I called my buddy who works with them, he's like, listen, he's like, it's not like that. He's like, what they're looking for, guys that are keeping the sharks, which some people do, and that people that are dragging them up onto the beach in the dry sand to take pictures with them, rather than just doing it in the water and removing the hook as quickly as possible. And if it's too dangerous because the thing's in 4 inches of water and it can still thrash, move around, then you're cutting the hook as close as you're cutting it as close to the hook, cutting the line as close as you can, or the lead or whatever. So he made it seem like it's it's
what
not
was that noise?
Walking up and down the beaches looking to.
Did Chris just fart? Deuce, clip this.
What are you're so fucking high right now. He hit his hand on the table.
I don't even get high. I need to go to bed.
Right,
I heard you. I heard it.
The next thing I want to question you guys about.
I heard it fart. We have email questions for you too. From listeners.
I wish you would have given them to me in advance. We'll see how this goes.
You know what my favorite part of this episode is, Matt?
What's up?
You basically had one small stipulation for us, is that we give you a heads up on all the legal questions so you could actually research the laws and regulations.
I didn't know any of this.
You shit, and we're just fucking flaming you. And
dude, I love you
guys.
It's all good, man. And listen, I'm a criminal defense attorney, but I take pride in being a fisherman, and I love the podcast and what you guys are doing. So if I can help anybody out, even if somebody called my office and said, hey, saw you on the Mayhem podcast, I would probably give them 10% off, like I would a Knee Deep Club member. And you come to my office and see this icon on my wall that I just have pinned up on my wall.
Scott Tarnonsky wants to know what could happen to him if he's caught fly fishing naked in the Ken Lockwood Gorge.
Probably hit him with lewdness. Couple ordinances. Public nuisance. Disturbing the
Could you
peace.
get him out of that with a slap on the wrist?
Yeah, we'll get him evaluated. We'll just say he's crazy.
They know that already. They have a file.
He's fucking nuts.
They have an entire room on him. He literally did email that. It's a real email.
All right. Well,
Is it legal to wade naked in the Kenlock Wood Gorge?
Is it a public area? I would say yes. All right. I would say at a minimum, you should probably put on something like Joe wears when he goes in the pool, which is like what Michael Phelps would wear. It's very, Chris Chris's bathing suits aren't like that. Joe's are. Chris's aren't like that.
I feel like even if you wore like a Speedo or a thong or something and were over there, I feel like they'd try to get you kicked out. I feel like people would call and
maybe
would come.
Tell them
there's an email.
It's part of your identity and your sexuality and everything, and they'll leave you alone because they'll be afraid that you'll file a claim with the township and sue them for money.
That's true.
There's an email from Luke, but it's basically the question we asked about the sign and the standing in the water. It's the same exact thing.
Oh, man.
I know a lot of people are.
Maybe they'll go together.
All right. Can I say goodbye to him? Are we? Is this over?
Wading naked in the stream.
Is this podcast over?
Trespassing signs.
All right. Listen.
Is it over?
What?
I gotta go. I'm going swimming.
I got one last thing.
All right, fine.
The Marlin disqualification. You guys hear about that?
I didn't.
I vaguely heard about it, but
I don't know the details.
This is wild. So there's a tournament off the out of North Carolina, and that this team, they're called Team Sensation. They were competing against, I guess, 200 other boats. It's the Big Rock Blue Marlin tournament. They caught a blue marlin weighing 619.4 pounds. The reason why this was significant was because the prize money for first place was like $2.5 million. But if you caught a fish over 500, you got a bonus, which brought the total to $3.5 million. And they would have won that prize money, and I think that they were more than entitled to win that prize money. And the next biggest fish, the second place fish, was only 400 and something pounds, 484.5 pounds, so significantly less than the 619-pound marlin. And basically what happens is you get disqualified because the people who run the tournament say that there's a shark bite. Now, when I say shark bite, I don't mean like there's any chunk of the fish missing. I guess the idea behind it is that it makes it easier for the angler to fight the marlin. If the shark bites it, it takes away from the fight. So they filed a lawsuit, and that's what's going on right now. It's kind of like a hot topic, I guess, in some fishing forums that I filed. So they would have received $2.77 million for taking first place, another $739,500 for catching the first fish of the year that weighed more than 500 pounds. It took 6 hours to catch. Okay, and it was disqualified, quote, due to mutilation caused by a shark or other marine animal.
I did see this.
In a statement shared to Facebook, it was deemed that the fish was mutilated before it was landed or boated, and therefore it's disqualified. International Game Fishing Association is who's running it. So the IGFA rules that state that the following situation will disqualify a fish: mutilation to the fish prior to landing or boating the catch, caused by sharks, other fish, mammals, or propellers that remove or penetrate the flesh. So their argument is that there was no flesh removed. It didn't make the fight easy. In fact, when you look at it, the fish just looks like a whole fish. You would barely even be able to tell. You don't know if the shark bit it while they were fighting it from a previous day, something like that.
Was the fish ever seen alive?
Well, everyone on board had to take an oath and testament and swear to tell the truth that they never saw a shark come up, hit it.
Because you don't know if they fucking scoop that fish up dead floating on the surface if it comes up looking like shit.
No, listen, they fished it for 6 hours. I'm sure they had it on film that they were fighting this thing, right? It's a big deal.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is there any footage or anything that shows the fish alive?
That's not what the issue is. The issue is that they're out $3-point-something million, and the next biggest fish, 400-something pounds, won the first place. Nobody wins the bonus for over 500. They're saying the decision was consistent with prior decisions made by the tournament in similar circumstances over the last 65 years. And the team that is suing is saying that that's not true, and they're going to point to other instances over the years where they ruled that it was not significant enough or that they allowed the fish. So I don't know. I just think it was kind of one of these things when I was reading, I thought to myself, sounds like the wrong team caught that fish.
Did you actually see it? Did you see how badly beaten up is this?
You can Google it. It's the 600-pound marlin, blue marlin, Sensation is the name of the team.
Is it really all torn apart, or what does it look like?
Not torn apart at all. It's just looks like almost like a semicircle, like an imprint. You'd have to see it. I can't even describe it. You have to.
So
look at
the
it.
money went to the next team down?
Yeah. Yes.
He's saying because not as much money now went to the next people. So he's saying maybe they made this decision to save themselves a payout.
Or they just didn't like that team. Like maybe they weren't locals or the guys that normally enter this thing. I just think the wrong team caught it. Maybe if they were more, it's such a subjective thing, It's such a subjective.
I gotta say, that sounds like a really stupid rule. Like
that rule is specifically put there to make sure someone doesn't scoop up a dead one floating by.
Well, there's much easier ways to prevent that. If you have to prove that you fought this fish a certain way, right? They have to prove they caught this on a rod and reel. They have to prove that, I don't know this contest. I don't know if they could take turns on the rod. I know there's certain tournaments where only one person can fight the fish. You have to prove this. You have to film it or something, or take a lie detector test.
Well, their lawyers arguing that the fish was not hindered in its ability to fight based off of that bite. And it'll go to a jury, if it doesn't arbitrate, it'll go to a jury, and they hope they get a couple of guys like you on the jury that'll look at this thing and go, I fish. If this thing had a chunk ripped out of it, I would say, yeah. If it was missing but just looking at these photos, no, they should be credited the win. I thought it was ridiculous when I looked at the photo.
I'm thinking, even if a shark comes over and bites the whole fucking tail off, and I reel that thing in and it can't fight, and it still weighs more than what anyone else caught, why the fuck shouldn't I win?
I can't agree on that, so to say. I think
these tournaments, you're talking millions of dollars. They got rule books are this thick on them.
That's crazy. That's a crazy rule. A shark comes out of nowhere, bites your catch, and now it doesn't count anymore. What the hell are you supposed to do?
And who's to say that the shark even bit while they were fighting it right then and there, and not another time or previously? It could have been how do you look at it and say, man, that's fresh? I think you could in some situations, but I don't know. I wasn't there in person to see the fish or inspect it, but from the photos I saw, I'm like, those guys won. Give them their money. That's
so that big walleye, Chris, that you just caught in New York, if that was in this tournament, would be disqualified because the fish mutilated.
That I pulled out of a muskie's mouth, it looked like.
That wouldn't count. It'd be thrown out.
I'll tell you what, that fish fought just as hard as anything else. There was nothing wrong with that fight on that fish. But look, Matt,
that's all I got for you guys, man.
What?
That's all I got for you guys. It's just couple.
You want to plug anything before I go to bed?
Yeah, I'll plug in the firm's website. It's pretty simple. centralnjlawyers.com. CENTRALNJLAWYERS.com. It's got my biography, my partners.
You're like Better Call Saul, kind of.
We do criminal defense. But the only other thing that we do, we're one of a few firms that specialize in gun permit rights in the state. So if you're denied by your chief of police in your town and you're applying for guns, or you want to even try to get a permit to carry, we fight those. We hire experts. We go to court. And we fight those. That's a whole nother episode that I'm sure fishermen may want to be interested in if they're also.
Well, I want to know, because what they're doing with the carry permit right now is just fucking crazy. Yeah.
Now blogs, check out our website, check all that out.
I gotta have another piece of paper in by October 1st now, or my permit becomes invalid. I don't know what this guy is doing.
Listen, I'm gonna write the fucking state a letter and tell him to take your shit. I didn't know that you were a gun owner. I'm gonna take his shit. Just fucking.
I don't own guns. I just know.
Yeah,
what they're doing with the permits is crazy. But yeah, that's a whole nother episode. So
you can carry, but we'll give you a list of areas that are.
You can carry it, but just
this list and everything on this side is where you can't
carry it, but nowhere on planet Earth.
Listen, check out the centralnjlawyers.com. We blog about it sometimes. We post some stuff, and I'm always open to questions and emails and stuff like that. I appreciate you guys having me on. I always have a blast watching you guys, and I don't know. I haven't won a single contest yet that you guys have run, but I'm gonna win. Something, a rod, a trip to see the Davy Jones of Lake Apache.
I've gotten nothing for doing any of this. I've just lost continuously.
Yeah,
everything. Money.
You won $100 at the Grand Slam tournament.
That doesn't involve this. I would have won that.
I saw that picture. Crocs, camo Crocs. I liked it.
this has done nothing for me other than just make me more tired and lose money. Right, Chris?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Joe. I'm not going to do what I usually do and make this last an extra hour because you look like you're fucking Walking Dead right now.
That's Mikey's fault. And just for the record, so the people know, I fished that damn tournament hard as hell for 3 days. There are rumors that Chris left the tournament to go home, play with the karaoke machine. There are photos circulating of a karaoke machine with a possibility he was singing Girls Just Want to Have Fun. And then he went to the raffle on Sunday, won a $50 gift certificate, and had a fancy dinner, and then did karaoke again. So he basically made out better than anyone that.
What was the second song selection, Chris? After when you did karaoke, after what were you singing?
Chris, you did the best of anyone in the whole tournament.
What? Say that again.
When you did karaoke the second time after the fancy dinner, what was your song selection then?
I usually like to go with Brandy. I like that song. Yeah, I usually go with Brandy.
I offered Katie $100 for a video, and she refused. She said you'll throw her out of the house.
Really? Huh?
She will not sell out. She's loyal to you.
Loyalty.
I have offered her everything for her to produce video of you doing karaoke, and she will not do it. But I'm going to hide in that house eventually and get. Yes, exactly. All right, Matt Teeter. You want to plug anything? What about Mackin? He has a guide service. You want to plug him?
Well, I got two buddies that run guide services up there. I've done work for both of them. I shoot YouTube videos for them. So first off, Eddie Mackin, that guy could, that guy's amazing on the water. I always see him.
Don't blow him up too. I'm sick of hearing about it. Eddie Mackin.
So he's definitely a guy I would fish with. And Aaron Graybill is another friend of mine. Who's a trustee as well. But
I'm banning the both of them from the show for 2 weeks. I don't want to hear about
either one. He does it better than them on the lake. I hate to say it. Dwayne's a close third, I would say.
No, Kevin Poole.
Out of here with that.
Dwayne sucks.
Dwayne moved to Lake George.
Good for him. The closer to Champlain you get, the better off you are. That's what I always say.
All right, so you plugged Lake Apacon Guide Service, Eddie Mackin, and your law firm. Anything else you want to plug?
Guide Service. Join the Knee Deep Club. We're always looking for people. I know you guys were cracking on the summer hybrid thing when there was 41 entries. All right, that wasn't too terrible. What else? That's it. And the Mayhem podcast, man. We got to get the viewers up. We got people from NJ Fishing, because this is what I always tell people. NJ Fishing is you don't know what to do. Did I hook the worm on the hook right? And should I ask this question? And people are going to compliment me on my little fish. This page to me is more like guys who fish and then are looking at guys that really, really fish and how to get better and how to improve technique. And Chuck, are you fucking kidding me? This guy's he's amazing. When you guys had Chuck, I was glued to that he's unreal. So, that's what I watch it for. I'm not looking for the guy who's going to post his 12-inch bass. I want to see Chuck, who's fucking trolling eels, killing the, stripers, and they're monsters. They're behemoths. That's the stuff that I want to be in. So, I got to get more people over here that are really into fishing, so they, really, tune into it, because this is the spot, man. I have no other plugs other than the website I already mentioned. Central Lawyers.
Everybody wants to be in this spot except me and Chris. Everyone wants to be here except us. We want to leave. Everyone's trying to get in. We're trying to get out.
Yeah, that's why when he said I think you guys were going to do 11 episodes or something, I'm like, no way. No way.
Joe's joking, but I mean,
I'm not. I'm not joking.
Shut up for a second. We didn't think that people would want us to keep doing this. We didn't really think people would give a shit, but they do. And so,
yeah, I think you got a good fraternity following, and I think
what's happening,
all legit.
Matt, if you want to know what's interesting in the this is the 20th episode. I don't even know if I did an intro. Maybe I did. I don't remember anything. Mikey K destroyed my whole life.
Nobody could.
I might lose my job because of Mikey K.
You hear me? He's running on fumes.
Yeah, it's just absolutely just horrendous. But what was I saying?
You were saying you got sunglasses on your forehead in the house for no reason.
They look cool though, don't they? No, I'm paid by Costa to wear these.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am. None of
The
your
producer's
business.
gonna have to splice and cut all this up and figure out what he's gonna do. What he's gonna
It's
do.
absolutely none of your
Oh, the
business.
best
But
part
Matt, what
is-
I was saying, what's cool is the analytics of the podcast. Like when the podcast first came out, all the viewership was on YouTube, and Spotify was like basically dead. Now it's switching. Like Spotify's picking up and YouTube's come down. So it's
I like
becoming a
that people can
podcast.
comment on YouTube though. Like for example, we're talking about this Marlin thing or like whatever. Like people should be able to comment like live as the video's going on, just being like their opinion on it or whatever. Like or Joe to
Well,
know.
they'll be able to do that during the shark episode, but it's just
Where are you guys
we're-
fishing with them? I mean, are you allowed to say that or like you can't?
we're
Can't
fishing
get
with Wet Side Sharking. Louis, it's a guide service.
Yeah, no, I know that. I know who you're talking about. I'm saying where? Like, are you fishing Jersey?
Oh no, I'm not allowed to say.
see,
I'm fishing in New Jersey, but I can't say that because there's people.
Can you tell me
looking
which
for me.
species you're targeting while you get Chris?
Everywhere I go, I'm getting filmed. Like people are filming me in the water. There's cameras everywhere. I don't know what's happening.
Let me check the list of prohibited shark species and let you know which ones I'm specifically targeting.
Listen, when you guys go out there,
We're targeting
you
threshers.
just stay away from sand tigers, angel sharks, sandbar, dusky sharks, basking sharks, Caribbean reefs, Galapagos seven gills, shortfin makos, longfin makos, narrow tooths, and silkies, and some other ones that I just decided not to.
I have complete confidence that Louis is a professional and he knows exactly
For sure.
what we can and can't do.
Knows the regulations, knows what kind of hook, all that. Yeah,
All
those
right,
guys.
we're gonna have to have Matt back on.
What?
You can fish a fly. He'll tell you that circle hooks must be non-offset, non-stainless steel
He's
circle,
just not leaving. He's not
except when fishing flies or
I don't
artificial.
care about the hooks. The guide's bringing all that shit. I'm just going there with a
I just wanted
GoPro.
to see you fight one on a fly rod. That's it. That's all I
If
was
the
trying to
cops
say.
show up, I'm pointing at the guide and I'm fucking leaving. I mean, it's nothing to do with me. Not involved. Are we done?
You know
Yo,
what?
have fun. I'm out of here. Have fun, guys.
Okay.
Be safe.
that
And
happens-
I hope you guys get good video while you're out there. Like post video of what it was like out there.
We're gonna be live. You'll be
Yeah,
able to watch it and comment. You could even come
You're gonna
on
be
the
wearing
video.
headlamps. The lighting may look like shit, but
You could come on the live stream, like video
Okay.
chat with us.
when is it? When are you guys going?
Saturday evening,
Okay.
5:30 p.m. I think, Chris.
We will give people the exact time, but it will be sometime between 5 and 6, I believe. Yeah. The
Post
start.
on the Mayhem page and just post the link up.
All right, Matt, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I
Thank you,
said,
guys.
Mikey K ruined my life. I got work tomorrow. I gotta go.
Cry.
All right, guys. Later, fellas.
Crybaby. I wasn't home doing karaoke. I was out in the sun.
I made a strategic decision and it paid off.
His strategic decision was to win raffles and eat and fucking play karaoke.
Did it work? Did it work?
It did work. You beat me for sure. I'm dying here. You look very healthy and very
full
perfect.
energy right now.
Yeah, you look wonderful.
I'm going to go do another song on the karaoke machine right now.
I'm near death. Oh, can we do that? Bring the Skype thing.
No, you have to pay extra for that. These guys ain't getting that for free. No,
Okay.
that's it.
All right, Matt. We appreciate you coming on the show. Deuce is gonna chop you off. And
Tight lines, brothers.
yeah, tight lines, bro. Hopefully we get to go fishing. If you ever unblock me, I'll talk to you again one day.
If you ever want to go, you let me know. My boat's slipped up.
I guess give me your address. I'll send you a letter. I have no way of getting in
I'll
touch.
probably
I'll
just let you take it without me. I'll probably just let you uncover it and take it without me.
Look, Matt, fuck Joe. Forget about him. Me and Joe's wife will come fishing with you. I got your number. It was awesome talking to you.
Appreciate
care,
you
bud.
guys. Take care.
See you, Matt. Thank you. All right, so just keep it rolling, Deuce. Don't even stop because I want to go to bed. But yes, Saturday night, shark fishing live. That was pretty cool. Getting to talk to Teeter. I literally have so many fucking more questions to ask him, especially about guns and hunting, and I could ask him stuff.
It sounds like he's an open book, and that goes for. I mean, I'm sure he's very busy, but anyone listening, if you
These episodes just get too long. I mean, they just get. How long can they be? Andrew he stopped watching an hour ago already. I mean, it's just.
Well. Anyway,
Anyway, shark fishing live Saturday night. If you get in trouble, call Matt Teeter, say mayhem. When you call from the prison phone, you get one phone call. You call Matt Teeter, you say mayhem, you get 10% off your first legal defense.
You can't beat that.
You can't.
No.
You can't. I'm actually probably going to get off right now, go break a law while I have this discount. Might as well do it.
Break into a trout club tomorrow.
A defense attorney handing out discounts is actually someone promoting crime breaking, isn't it?
I think I mentioned it. It was getting pretty close to that, yeah.
Like, he's like, yeah, listen, if you're going to go out and do something stupid, I'll give you 10% off. I'll help you. All right, thank you. Shark fishing live Saturday night from the beach. John Fallon, photographer, going to be there. Chris, Louie from Wet Side Sharkin'. We're going to be out for at least 5 hours, live the whole time. You could comment, you could message, you could come on live. You could do anything.
All theoretically.
Theoretically, if it works. We'll go live on YouTube, then the link will be shared to Instagram, link will be shared to Facebook. If you're a subscriber, you'll get a notification. If you have nothing to do Friday and you just want to lay on the couch and watch two idiots try to catch a shark and fight with each other, we'll be live on TV, and it's free.
And I just want to throw this out there. I mean, like, we have a tendency of giving random crap away. So if we're live, who knows what the hell we'll say? Who knows what the hell we'll give away? I mean, I'm just throwing it out there.
We also have a tendency of really horrible disasters happening to us when we're live. So if you're interested in horrible disasters, which seem to get the most views, there should be plenty of that too.
I mean, I feel like the chances of one of us getting a chunk taken out of our leg or hand by
I'm going to get hit by a shark tail, go airborne. I know it's coming.
Dude, if a shark tail whips you into the ocean, I'll fucking, that's it for me.
As long as Fallon catches the shot. All right. Dude. So recapping, the Grand Slam, it's just way too much to get into. What we're going to try to do is bring on all four of the first place winners in one episode for 10 minutes each, talk about how they each caught their fish, except maybe the two bass guys. We'll just leave them out because no one cares. No, I'm just kidding. We'll let you guys on too. Total joke. Don't start freaking out. I'll let you on. Don't start. Shark fishing live Saturday. There'll be no episode next week because this is the episode. And yeah, Grand Slam, we have a lot more to touch on. And they have more tournaments like that coming up. Chris, I don't really have much more. You?
I think you touched on everything. I mean, I know you want to get to bed. You look like shit. And I
don't even think I look that bad. I just got the raccoon sunglass thing going on.
It's more the movements. For anyone just listening and not watching this, it's just like the squirrel-like tweaky movements.
You know what it is? My job doesn't have air conditioning, so it's brutal. And after what I went through for the 2 days, I'm done. I'm dehydrated. I need an IV. I should probably go to the emergency room and say, listen, I just fished the triathlon of fishing contests. I need to be like, I'm malnourished. It was horrible.
So I need to end it. End the episode. You just keep talking.
All right, episode's over. Goodbye.
See you later.